Welcome back to the podcast. And today I have a guest with me. Her name is Sue Willoughby. She is a truth teller, a boundary breaker, and a certified Equus coach who helps women over 40 stop playing small and start living like they mean it. With horses as her co facilitators, she cuts through the noise to help clients reconnect with their power, ditch burnout, and trust their instincts. Sue brings real talk, deep heart, and a no fluff approach to personal transformation. Based outside Seattle with her horse Moose and two mini Dachshunds, she's here to help you stop surviving and start showing up for your life. And I just want to thank you, Sue, for being here today on the podcast. I really appreciate that you're here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate being here. It's so fun. I'm excited about our conversation today.
I'm excited too because this is like new territory for me as well. I had never heard of Equus coaching before you reached out, and I was like, oh, that sounds fascinating. So that will be my first question. What is Equus coaching and why Equus coaching? I guess both kind of bundled into one. So I'll just let you go off of that.
Yeah, that's a great jumping off point, actually. It is like, do you coach horses? I get all this question all the time. Like what's the deal? Are you a horse trainer? Are you whatever? Um, the very short answer is that I do personal and professional development coaching, and I use horses. I partner with horses during some of my coaching sessions, my one-on-one sessions, as a feedback loop. Because horses are very much in the moment, and they connect with humans on a level that is very deep. It's a very heart-centered level, and they can sense all of our internal our heart rate, our breathing, our all of that stuff, and they take that in as information and process it and react accordingly. The basis for that is the fact that they're prey animals, and through that, their instincts are survival. And so they're always processing information about their environment and whoever is in their herd, whether it's a human, whether it's another horse, or whatever the situation is, they're always taking in information through all of their senses, including, every cell in their body is taking in information and saying, am I safe? Do I have to lead? Do I have to run? The fight or flight instinct kicks in. So when we're interacting with them, we are part of their herd, and they're looking to us to see, hey, what's going on with you? Are you a threat to me? What's going on? So it's about relationship and how we show up in relationship with other individuals, at work or personally or whatever, we are going to bring to this relationship as well. So the horses provide a really interesting feedback loop and an opportunity for me to observe the client, observe the horse, and then ask some really good open-ended questions. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, the how and the why around Equus coaching.
Okay. I love this. I love the fact that horses are so present that
Mm.
they are really taking all of this in. Like I guess a lot of animals do, but I guess the size of the horse and just I don't know what it is, but I guess it maybe is so visible to you. Like you're able obviously to read the horse
Mhm.
based on, experience that you've had. And and that's fascinating. So does that come from a history with horses? Did you learn that through experience? Did you learn that through courses? How did you learn how to read a horse?
A little bit of everything. I didn't. When I say I grew up with horses, I grew up with a love for horses. And when, from the time I was a little kid, I would beg my mother to please take me to the barn. Um, I grew up with an alcoholic parent, and so I loved being at the barn because it felt safe. It just felt comfortable and cozy, and I love these big animals, and just being around them and being in their energy bubble was very comforting to me. I didn't understand it at the time. I do now. um, so I had that experience as a younger person, and then they just have always been a thread throughout my life. In my later teenage years, kind of later teenage, early 20s sort of thing, I worked at a summer camp, um, and we did therapeutic riding once again at that time. This was like in the 70s, early 80s, dating myself here. Um, and I didn't know what that was, but I did see the interaction between people with special needs and animals, and horses specifically, whether it was riding, whether it was interacting with them on the ground. Fast forward to my later adult years, I actually volunteered at a therapeutic riding program here in Washington State, and I got to see that more firsthand. And I thought about for a minute going into therapeutic riding, and but I didn't really want to be a riding instructor. Uh, I loved being around the horses, so I kind of took a path to equine massage and equine body work, because that way I could help these amazing animals and hold space for them, which was a beautiful experience. And be with them. And that was a whole different way of being with horses, because I was the one creating the safe space for them to then help them heal with their bodies. And from there, I'm very aware of things when they come to me, and follow my intuition. And the idea of Equus coaching came to me through kind of a weird, you know, a weird path. I was like, whatever. And I found the Coel Institute at the time. It's now the Center for Equus Coaching, and signed up for their coaching program, which was a year long. And then I immediately went into their master facilitation program, which is training about how to do Equus coaching with groups, and whether they be corporate, whether they be retreats or whatever, but multiple people and multiple horses, not all at once, but in that setting. So through all of those little pieces, um, I began. I had to be a very keen observer of horse behavior for safety,
Mm.
and also to
Mhm.
understand what they were going through. So it's been over time, it's been through training, it's been a number of different things.
Wow. So, I mean, when you're working with horses, first of all, when you first mentioned Equus coaching to me, I'm just thinking bringing the horse into the office with you.
Right.
Obviously, your office does not look like a normal office if you're
No.
working with a horse. You're working in some sort of surroundings where they can move around.
Mhm.
And yeah, so explain to me a little bit about the environment that you do this coaching in.
Yeah, the environment can be anything from an open pasture with a herd of horses, and that's great for people to develop their own sense of observation. And it's interesting what they see in the horses when the horses are just in their herd, and how they communicate with each other. Once again, their relationship and their communication styles. It starts to open up the individual's awareness. And then we can also work in like an arena or a round pen, which is basically you've probably seen them in movies and stuff like that. The horses are free to
Hmm.
move around, they don't get stuck in a corner. And the horses are always at liberty, meaning that they are free to come and go and wander around and roll on the ground if they want to. There are some exercises if somebody wants to build some confidence in leading the horse or something, but otherwise, no halter, no lead rope, nothing. The horse is just free to move about during the session. And that's great, because that way the horses don't need any special training for this. They're just being horses, and they're just interacting with us. They're just creating a relationship, creating a heart-centered relationship that um, is interesting, because people don't understand that, we're so used to being judged. We judge ourselves, other people judge us. We're afraid of being judged. We're afraid of making fools of ourselves. The horses don't have that filter. They don't have that oh, look at what you're wearing. Look at what you showed up in. You know, they don't care. So that also allows the client to be in a judgment-free space and be able to sort of let down their guard and release that, you know, that armor, that wall, that facade, whatever it is that they're carrying around. And when the client is able to do that, the horse will be more interactive. If they feel like the person has a, you know, a huge wall that they just won't let go of, the horse may stay away because they're seeing what's really going on inside the person, what the person is feeling, all of that, and they're not judging it. They're just like, hey, you know, when you become a little bit more congruent, your insides and your outsides match a little bit better, then I'll be more inclined to interact with you. So it's interesting to see that.
So, and correct me if I'm wrong, you sound like an interpreter, like you're in this session with the client. I guess, are they also free to move around where the horse is and move towards the horse and
Mhm.
touch the horse if that's what they feel drawn to do, I guess?
Yeah.
But and then you just interpret the horse's behavior as a reflection of the client? Is that how it works? Or I don't
Yes, it
know.
can be a reflection, a metaphor, or whatever it is.
Mhm.
And I may ask the person, so yes, I am, let's say if we're in a round pen or a small arena, I'm on the outside of the fence. I'm not part of the mix unless the person doesn't feel safe or they want, you know, want my help in some way. But I'm on the outside. I may ask them to set an intention for the session. I might already know there's something that they want to work on. And then I will do a safety demo, and then I will also show them some ways that they can interact with the horse in a safe manner, in a fun way, so that they have some guidelines. And I make sure that I tell them, you know, hey, this is your interaction. This is your relationship. This is your session. Do what you want. Just, you know, please stay safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's so many different ways. I mean, you know, some people just, I've had clients just come into the arena and just by the pure, you know, proximity to the horse, just let everything just sort of falls away and they may just start sobbing. I mean, there may be something that's just they feel safe, they feel supported, and the horse is just being a
Mhm.
horse. It's like I said, it's not doing anything special. It's just, it is doing something really special, but it's just
It
being a
doesn't
horse.
realize it. It
Yeah, it's
doesn't
just being a
realize
horse.
it's anything special, but it is such a majestic, big animal
Mhm.
that, I would assume, I mean, just thinking about that as you were saying, somebody you might just go to tears. I would think if the horse came up to me and just looked me in the eye, I think I would lose it. I
Mhm.
do. There's
Yeah.
something about that that is so deep that
Yes.
they almost just see you, like you said, but without judging you.
Yes. Yes. Horses can
Wow.
make you feel very seen, and that is important. A lot of people today, you know, yeah, whatever, you know, especially when we think about the pandemic and how separate we all were, right? And, you know, it was hard and we're still recovering from that. And now we have some, you know, political divisions and, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on. And I think people just feel so either isolated or not seen, not understood. And especially with women, I work a lot with women. When women get to a certain age, we tend to feel not seen and we tend to feel, you know, like I said, invisible, or that we don't have a lot of options, or well, my life is over, my kids are gone, I don't know what to do with myself, I don't know what my identity is anymore. And being with the horses gives people the ability to experiment and start to build an awareness of the things that actually mean something to them or that they may have put on a, you know, the back burner for a very long time, and reconnect with their inner truth. Horses are really good at that because they're always in the moment. And the
Yeah.
other good thing about
Yeah.
horses is that they don't hold on to stuff. I mean, certainly there are horses that have been through a lot of trauma and are scarred, that, you know, for sure. And sometimes those are the horses that are the most effective because they're like, I get
Mm.
you. I understand what's in your heart. Um, I understand that you're hurting. And they're not trying to heal us. It's not, they're just being themselves. So it's a really good opportunity for someone to be in an experimental and experiential setting where if you want to, cut the fool and skip around the arena, the horse isn't going to laugh. They may skip right along with you.
Yeah, you get just I get the impression that you just get to be.
Yeah.
Like the horse is just being. It's not
Yes.
doing anything, like you said, they're not there to heal you. You just get to be in front of the horse and realize that they are responding to you just being you.
Yeah. Exactly.
And
And
that's
how often do we
amazing.
get to do that? Right?
Never.
Not very. Not very. We're always,
Except if you're in a coaching session.
right.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, you're a coach as well. And a
Mhm,
lot of times people, with talk coaching, I'm sure
mhm,
you have situations where people will tell you what you want to hear, or they think that's what you want to hear, or they'll talk. I've done this myself. You
mhm.
have this certain thing where it's like, I'm not going to go beyond this point. And the horses will push you. You got an issue with
Really?
boundaries? Oh yeah, they'll move right in on you.
Mm. Really? Is that what happens?
They
Like
can. They can
they
sense
can
it. Yeah.
point at those things that
Yeah, oh
are
yeah.
you're holding on to?
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Yeah, it's just like, what?
And it's completely obviously nonverbal. They're not talking to you. They're not pointing out like, "I think you're holding on to something." You just feel that. You feel
Hmm.
that they are talking to that. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Hmm. It's interesting. Like someone may have, it was, I've had some clients where the horse, especially my horse Moose, I have a horse named Moose, believe it or not, because he's a big boy. He's 16 hands, which is very tall. A hand measurement is 4 inches. I'm 5'10", and his withers are right about eye level with me. He's also about 1,200 pounds, so he's a big boy. But he's very
Yes.
funny. I've seen people go in and if they're trying to get him to, maybe move around the arena, uh, he keeps squaring off with them. He'll turn, like if they turn, he turns and stares at them. And and sometimes it's just funny because people have a hard time sending their energy out to send the animal away. And because they think, A, they're going to hurt the horse's feelings, or they
Mhm.
just think the horse may not come back if they send it away. So there may be some insecurity issues around that. It can be any number of things, but it's really funny how the horse will test those things. Same thing, like I said, with boundaries. The horse may come up and be really close, and at first it may seem really kind of cuddly and comforting until the horse starts to nudge or nibble at your jacket or do something else or just kind of crowd your space. And you can see when someone's starting to feel a little bit more uncomfortable. So if initially they're saying, "Oh no, this is sweet, I really enjoy this," and then they're like, "Oh, not so much." And it's interesting because they typically will have some issues around setting clear boundaries with people. Once again, the horse is in their space. I'm like, are you? What's going on? Well, now
Yeah.
it's getting a little uncomfortable. Well, what would you do about it? Well, I could move away, and then of course the horse follows up. What else could you try? So it's really good because like, what else could you try? What else could you try? What else could you try? Same thing,
Mhm.
when you have a coaching session, you're asking people, and then what, right? And what else could you do?
Mm.
Because if you're doing the same
Yeah.
thing over and over and getting the same results, guess what? You need to try something new.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's amazing because I do think and you were talking about women in midlife, obviously this podcast is about that. I believe you
Mhm.
also have a podcast for women in midlife,
I do.
and I know that boundaries is an issue. It comes up over and over and
Hmm.
over again. Being able to say no, being, just protecting yourself and your own, what you want to do for yourself
Yeah.
rather than keep on doing everything for everybody else and just being able to give yourself that space is such a challenge. So I can see how working with a horse could really like, okay, I can see for
Yeah.
boundaries, that is a definite that would be super interesting to see that. I've never seen that
Right.
before.
Because
Yeah.
it's a physical representation of someone physically, big physical, being coming into your space. It's not like just somebody asking you to do something that you don't want to do on the phone. You're like, well, all right, I guess I'll do that. And you don't want to. But yeah, it's a physical representation of that. And it's very powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, just this I guess it's the size of the animal too that really helps. I'm assuming it's just so imposing. Like I have a dog, and I know having a dog is also, they're very present with you, but
Hmm.
she's cute and cuddly, and it's a bit different than having this big animal in front of you, which can be intimidating, which can
Hmm.
be hard to push away, like you said. Like, what do I do here? Like, it can be really uncomfortable. So I
Yeah.
think that could be really powerful in overcoming it. The I guess the we're resistant to creating boundaries. So this is a case where you kind of have to. How do you
Yeah.
get the horse out of your space? You got to create
Right.
a boundary.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the other thing about that type of a scenario is that horses, not only are they prey animals, they're also herd animals. So they rely on each other to help them be safe, right? Help them feel safe, help them feel like if something happens and they're out in the pasture and there's a herd of horses out there, one may look up and be like, okay, hey everybody, there's some stuff going on you need to know about. All right, and they're communicating and one's listening, and it's funny because their ears are independent of each other, so they may have an ear in one direction and another ear in another direction. Their eyes are, they've got almost 360-degree vision, so they're communicating, and then they'll look to whichever herd mate is the leader, and sometimes the leadership role gets passed around to whoever's the most the calmest, the most focused, the most whatever. Here's a little pro tip: it's usually a mare. It's usually a female horse. It's
Oh,
not the
love
big
that.
bossy, stallion or anything. It's usually the mare, and she's like, boys, settle down. We're good here, and they'll watch her or whoever the leader is to be okay. No, she went back to grazing. Okay, we must be okay. So they have that kind of communication. When we are with them, even if it's one person, one horse, that's their herd. So they may be looking to you for leadership, and they may test you
Mm,
to see, are you going to keep me safe if I need you to do that? Or are you going to push me around, or are you, or do I need to take control of the situation? Which may not be the best
okay.
option.
No, no. And that's where
So
that
that's why if
safety
you,
lesson comes in, I
yeah,
guess, at the beginning, right? You want to make
yeah.
sure everybody's safe with it because I've never personally really spent any time around horses.
Hmm.
So I would definitely need to understand like what to do, what not to do,
Yeah.
and how to behave in that scenario. But yeah, I can only imagine how that is. And so what kind of issues do you see a lot coming up? I know we talked about boundaries. Are there any other areas, especially because we're talking about women in midlife, that you see that horses have helped with? Or that Equus coaching has helped with?
Yes, that is a great question. It can be any number of things. If we're talking specifically about women in midlife, it's usually around identity, um, transition, transformation, like going from a house full of kids to the empty nester syndrome. And it could just be, uh, you know, going to a different level in their career, or losing their career, or making some sort of transition from one identity to another. That's kind of a big thing because, we forget that we can still look at things with fresh eyes and be curious about the opportunities that arise. Um, because it's scary to try new things, for
Mhm.
all of those reasons that we talked about previously. Fear of failure, fear of looking stupid. What am I, at my age, what right do I have to go out and, learn to roller skate or whatever it is? We self we put ourselves down. We say, oh, that's silly. Everybody's going to think I'm silly to do that. Or, I just need to stay in my lane and not try something new. And also curiosity gets kind of beat out of us as we get older. There's all
Hmm.
these societal norms that we need to stay in. Um, and so we forget that it's okay to experiment. It's okay to try new things. So it's a really good opportunity to do that as well. Like I said, you can experiment. Nobody's going to judge you. Um, it can start to open those doors for people. And I'm sure a lot of your clients come to you with like, I just don't know what to do with this next phase of my life, whether it's, you know, uh, the next 5 years, the next 10 years, the whatever it is. And I think also that, that next phase, it's like, I think people, when they try something new, especially if they've come from a role that they've been in and they've an identity that they've attached, that they've been in for a really long time, like maybe they were a corporate executive, they feel like they have to achieve that same level with something new. And you don't. You can try something. If it doesn't work, try something else, right? If you go to the store and you put on a jacket or, a shirt or a pair of pants, and they're like, and you go like, I go, those are okay, and you buy them
Hmm.
anyway. It's like, no, you don't buy them if they're just okay, right? You can,
Yeah.
you can return it or you can try something new. So if you look at opportunities like that, you don't have to put in the 10,000 hours. You may find that you fall in love with this new thing and maybe you do become a master of it, but you don't have to. You don't have to. It's fun to just experiment and explore, try new things, be curious. So,
I yeah, I can see how this being in the arena with the horse can allow you to experiment, allow you to be curious about this animal and to be curious about how you're interacting with them. And yeah, I definitely understand this identity shift that we have to be open to new ideas.
mm-hmm.
And a lot of us are not. We're not. We're stuck in a rut.
Yeah,
And perhaps I just think that, well, especially if, well, not especially if, but I'm just thinking I've never worked with horses or been with horses. So, yeah, that would really get me out of my comfort zone right away. Like
yeah,
just being there would be
yes,
like, wow, this is a whole new approach, a whole new way of seeing the world, being in the world. This would definitely open me up to new ideas. And
yeah,
yeah, I can see that, like how different that is, just exposing yourself to this animal is like, wow, that could open up so many things for people.
yeah,
I love that
absolutely.
idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And just building some self-awareness, because like I said, the horses are in the moment. They're always assessing what's going on. And the other thing that is important when you're around, just in general, is to be in our bodies. We spend so much time in our heads overthinking
Mm.
everything, where this is a much more somatic whole body experience. Like you said, it gets you out of your
Mhm.
comfort zone. It also gets you back into your body in a way that you wouldn't normally. Like if you're on a Zoom call with a client, um, you're up in your head, right? Where if you're not
Yes.
outside doing something different, and so it does allow you to just, like you said, be out of your comfort zone, be more experiential, feel what's going on. Because a lot of times, most of the time, okay, pretty much every time,
Mhm.
I will ask the
Mhm.
client, "How are you feeling?" And I kind of get the deer in the headlight look, and they're like, "Mad." Mad's a word. How does mad feel to you? How does it present itself? How does sadness feel? How does it present itself in your body? Where in your body do you feel this thing, whatever it is? And it takes a
Mm.
minute to think, oh, wow. And we all have, if somebody triggers something and we get angry, right? We all have a place in our body where it comes from. Could be like a gut punch, could be just compression in our chest. A lot of people feel that tension in your chest. Could be your shoulders creep up and your neck gets tight. Whatever it is, maybe your mouth gets
Mhm.
dry. There are physical feelings because the body stores everything, right? So
Yeah.
when we have an emotion, when we have something, we're like, oh, yeah, we feel it before it actually comes out. Before we start crying,
Hmm.
we feel something somewhere in our body. So to build that physical awareness as well is really good because then you can start to think about that. Oh, when you're not in the arena with the horse, you're like, oh, I'm feeling that kind of weird feeling in my stomach when I'm going to talk to Jim about this project, whatever it is.
Hmm.
And maybe Jim gets on your nerves and he gives you,
Hmm.
then you're like, okay, how can I, now that I'm aware of what's going to happen, or not what's going to happen, but how I may react, how can I change that?
Hmm. Yes.
So that helps as
Yeah.
well.
So they gain a lot of awareness through their bodies of how they're
Hmm.
feeling. So just by sensing a sensation, they get to know how they feel.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, we do that in coaching too, but I see
Hmm.
you mentioned like it's not just the horse, it's the being outside. It's the you're not in front of a computer screen doing 10 different things. You're
Right.
here in the arena with the horse.
Yeah.
Like that's very present. Like you're with this big animal. So
Mm.
yeah, you're gonna be there. And I love that idea of it too. It's you can't be doing a million things. You're present. And so then you can really feel what's coming up for you. And so you as the
Hmm.
coach, are you asking them questions as they go, as they pertain to a particular issue, or do the issues show up as you go?
That's a good question. Because I think initially I mentioned that I may ask the person, what would you like to work on, or how can we support you
Mhm.
today? What would be your intention for the session? And then a lot of times they'll get in there and it changes, immediately. Oh, okay. It was not that at all. It's like we always think, oh, I'm experiencing this thing or this thing that I need to deal with. Well, guess what? That may be the surface, but peel back a few
Mhm.
layers pretty quickly and you're like, oh, okay, it's not that at all. It's something else. So because of the horse's innate ability to kind of dial in on what's going on with the person inside, I may be picking up some things and I may be asking specific questions around, either what are you noticing from the horse? Because a lot of times the horses, most time they will um, mirror our behavior. Or someone may
Mhm.
have an issue where they come in and the horse may be on the other side of the arena. Could be for any reason. Could be that they're, just nosing around in the dirt or they're looking for a piece of grass outside the fence or doing whatever. And somebody may come in and they may say, they'll look at me like, I'm like, well, go ahead. Would you like to interact with the horse? Sure. The horse is bored with me. The horse is ignoring me. The horse is this. The horse is that. Everything gets transferred onto the horse. The horse is like, I'm just trying to get that blade of grass on the other side of the fence. I'm paying attention to you. But it's that transference. So it could be like anything like that. So that gives me the opportunity to say, well, tell me more about that. Why do you think the horse is bored with you? Well, and then they may go into this whole explanation about, well, whenever I walk into a meeting, people ignore me. And then this, da, da, da. Is that really what's happening?
Mhm.
You can go into a little bit of the work with, Byron Katie, like, is that the truth? Are they really ignoring you? Why do you say that? I mean, it makes people stop and think like, maybe the horse isn't ignoring me. Maybe people aren't ignoring me. Maybe people aren't bored with me. That's just my interpretation. But, that story kicks right in and then we let our stories take over. We hit play and we forget that we can hit pause and change the tape. So,
Yeah, that is a really good point. We do make everything about ourselves, and we believe that everybody's actions or reactions are indirect, directed to us and about
yeah,
us, but they're not. Like obviously
yeah,
the horse is not bored with you. They're just doing their own thing, right?
being a
It's so
horse. Yeah,
interesting.
not
Yeah,
about the
so
horse. And that's the
interesting. But
beautiful
when it's
thing.
about people, we have a hard time with that because we think,
Hmm.
well, people. They're judging us. They're thinking all kinds of things about us, right? The
Right.
horse, okay, but yeah, we do that. We
Yeah.
create these stories, and that is how we live our lives based on how we
Mhm.
the stories we tell.
Yeah.
So
Our little
interesting. So
brains go through that Rolodex of stories. Oh, this is that one. Let's play this tape. And then, and then off it goes, spiraling into oblivion. Horses don't do that either.
yeah.
They don't, sit around the hay bin and talk about stuff that happened to them a month ago or 6 months ago or last week. Hey Charlie, remember when Sally kicked me in the teeth because I was trying to eat her hay? They don't do stuff like that. They're like, oh yeah, man, that
Mm.
was awful. And of course, as humans, if somebody launches into one of their stories, we get right on the bus and go with them. Like, oh yeah, well, I remember when that happened. Horses don't do that. They just like,
No, no, that's it. They're not talking about it. They're not rehashing stuff. They're not,
no,
you know, they're not making these links that this means that and that means this. And
right,
yeah, it's
right.
amazing what we do to ourselves, right? So this
Oh,
helps
yeah.
break down that
Hmm.
thing that we do as humans, like not just women, obviously. We all do this. We all
Yes.
create these stories. So being in that ring, in that arena with the horse, just helps us break down these
Hmm.
stories that we're telling ourselves. So fascinating.
Yeah. And just start to create that awareness that, oh, uh, I'm launching into story mode, right? And so when you're not in the arena, you can say, oh, okay, I'm launching into story mode. All righty. I remember the horse.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. No, and it's so important to now we can, like you said, it's all about the awareness. That's where it has to begin. It's like noticing you're even doing this.
Yeah.
But I just think it's so visible when you're working with a horse. It's like, of course, I'm just creating a story here. It's not, it has nothing to do with the horse. It's me. So
Exactly. Yeah.
that is so good. I love
Yes.
that. And do you have like a particular client that you worked with, a story that you could tell us about how they moved through an issue?
Well, I've indicated different types of things.
Mm.
I did have a client who had, was far along in their career and they just felt like they didn't have joy in their life or fun. And they had lost the ability to even like do fun things. And what would be fun with me? And my question is like, well, what does fun feel like for you? And they're like, I don't know. I don't know anymore, right? It's been so long since I've had fun. I've just had my nose to the grindstone and work, 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 work. I don't know how to relax and have fun. And that's a hard thing for people, especially if they're, high level, high achievers. And they just, you just like, okay, I got to keep going. I got to keep producing. I got to keep, you know. Um, so it was a multiple session. I mean, it was, over a course of time where originally, the person was very stiff and very task oriented. And when I show people what they can do with the horse and how they can interact with the horse, it's just to give them something to do, right? It's not about the task at all, but it's okay. Well, I've got to achieve this task, and I've got, trust me, I did this myself because, as a horse person, when I first started coaching and we had our first on site, I was like, oh, I can do this. I can get the horse to do this thing. I can do, because I'm a horse person. So for me, I'm thinking, oh, the horse is like acting all goofy and running around. And I'm like, oh, haha, I get it now. I was being coached by one of our mentors. And he's like, what's going on? I'm like, well, I'm trying to get the horse to do this thing. And he's like, okay. He just let me be. And I was like, it finally dawned on me. It's not the task, it's not the activity, it's not the whatever. But so we do that, right? We think, okay, I have to do this
Mm.
thing. So when we're focused, and I was like, well, you're trying this. What else can you try? What else can you do? I kept pushing it out. What else can you do?
Mhm.
Does that feel fun? Does that feel joyful? Does that make you happy? Well, no, I'm just trying to get the task done. Oh, okay. How's that working out for you? It's
Yeah.
not, right? What else can you try? So, like I said, it can be a playground um,
Mm,
to experiment and try different things without the fear of being judged. And eventually, the person is, running around or skipping around the arena or doing something or just being goofy and silly. And then I was like, how does that feel? How do you feel in your body? I feel lighter. I feel more open. I feel more, and it's like, okay, can you tell me now what joy feels like to you? You know, what it feels like,
oh,
not the
that's
word,
powerful.
not the, yeah. So sometimes it takes a little longer. And sometimes, clients may come in and they may be in talk therapy or talk coaching. I mean, I do one-on-one coaching. I do Zoom coaching and all that
Mm,
kind of stuff as well, with a little bit of
mhm.
horse sense tucked in there. But Moose is not standing behind me in my office. That would be a nightmare. Um, but but sometimes people just get stuck, right? I'm sure you have clients that
Mm,
get stuck where they plateau and a lot of that is because they're not being honest with themselves. So at
mhm,
that point, they're like, wow, this coaching's not working or this therapy's not working. And then they come and they spend some time with the horse and they're like, or horses, and they're like, oh, okay, I get it now. I've got more work to do. Yes, you
mhm.
do. So sometimes it can just help kind of open another door and bring another
Yeah.
level of awareness to what it is
Yes.
that they're already working on.
Yeah. Yeah. A horse, they can just be another tool to help,
Yeah.
get to the root of what it is with you. That's so interesting. And when you were talking before about the horse and the very stiff,
Interaction.
individual, and it took me, it just brought this memory into my head of being in a ballet class with my 2.5-year-old daughter. It was a beginner parent child ballet class. And of course, as the parent, you want your child to behave, like to listen, to follow. And of course, she's not. So my daughter's off fascinated because there's a whole wall of mirrors there. She's just looking at herself and doing all her things. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I can either be very rigid here, or I can go with it and just have fun and just be with her. And I remember making that conscious choice in the moment because I think as a parent, it was my first time in that kind of situation where what do I do? Do I
Yeah.
make her behave, or do you like have fun with it? And it's just that moment, where you realize, wow, I don't have to do it that way. That's fascinating. But yeah, it can be a 2-year-old, it could be a horse, whatever drags
Right.
it out of you.
Yeah, because that's the stuff that we lose,
Mm,
right? As we get older.
mm,
I can just picture her cute little self in her tutu, over there in front of the mirror, like
mhm,
leaping around and like, oh my
yeah.
God, I did this and spinning and twirling and doing whatever. And meanwhile, you're like, oh my God, please don't do that. That just looks silly, right? Like she's having a blast. So I love that
Yes.
that you saw what was happening. You paid attention to how you were feeling about it, and then you're like, this can
Mm,
go one of two ways. And it sounds like you let her just have fun.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
and that's it. And but I see how that a little child who has no judgment, who has just like the
Exactly.
horse, right? They have
Yeah.
no judgment. They're just going to be them. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the best teacher. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if you're a parent, it could be your little children, but I can see how a horse can be such a powerful teacher in
Yeah.
these circumstances. Yeah.
Yeah. Be
That's so good.
yourself. Just be
Be
yourself.
yourself.
And that is the hardest thing for us to be as adults is be
Yeah.
yourself. Because a lot of us don't even know who ourselves are. We've shut that part
That's
down.
big.
We would no more spin around in front of a mirror in a tutu than, you know, anything.
No, because we don't know who we are or what we
Right.
want. And that is at the root of it all. So I love this conversation, Sue. This was so good. And there's a question I always ask my guests is what is the best part of getting older for you so far?
Not caring what other people think.
Mhm.
um, I haven't put on a tutu recently, but I think, and I've kind of always been the type of person to go through life and when I'm drawn to something, I just go and explore it. But the older that I get, and I think that we do have that opportunity as older adults to shed some of that layers of responsibility and start to be curious again and start to say, hey, I can separate myself from this identity that I've had for years and I can go try something new. It's like being reborn and being, rejuvenated and, getting back in touch with that like inner child, but whatever that is, as we get older, we understand that we can give ourselves some grace and be a little bit curious about life and what really makes us feel good. What does joy feel like, right? So I would say that was a long answer, but there you go.
No, it's perfect. That's perfect, but that's what it is. I agree with that, and yeah, I endorse that full-heartedly.
Yes.
Thank you, Sue. So, because this is fascinating, and I know that my audience will be fascinated with what you
Mhm.
do. How can they reach you? Where can they find you?
Yeah. Well, first of all, you did mention that I have a podcast. It's called Midlife Strategies for Badass Women, and it's on all the platforms. And you can go to my website, willoughbycoaching.com. And I'm also on all of the socials, probably the most active on Instagram, and that's Sue_Willoughby.
Okay, perfect. I mean, we'll have all of these links
Yeah,
in the show
sounds
notes
great.
so anybody can reach you. But thank you so much for this conversation. I know it's going to be well received and valued, and yeah, and I valued it. So thank you so much again for being here. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much for the opportunity to connect with your audience and with you. That was a beautiful conversation. I appreciate it.